Hello everyone, warm welcome to Textbook Super Coaching. My name is Madhav. I welcome you all in a very important session, that is weekly current affairs for RBI. As we all know that Reserve Bank of India is a very important aspect for your current affair examination, because in the current affairs, especially for RBI and many other exams, many questions will be asked from the same. What all things we are going to cover in this session? Sir, in this session, we will be covering all the important RBI notifications in the past 1 week, which include RBI press release, RBI speeches, as well as all the published RBI reports. I can assure you, if you are following this session on regular basis, you will be in a situation to answer most of the questions in your upcoming examination. So let's begin the discussion. But before I start, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion. See, my main agenda is not only to discuss the news which are given in the on the RBI website, but I want you to understand the concept behind the news as well. In a similar manner, I have been taking n number of sessions in the previous weeks, and I will be continuing on the same format, so that you not only get the news, you don't not only understand the news, but along with the news, you should understand the concept related to the same. So let's begin the discussion, guys. Here we go. Before I start the discussion, as you all know that this 6 p.m. is a slot which is, I would say, which should be booked by every one of you who are preparing for RBI examination, because on Monday we have PIB, weekly PIB analysis. On Tuesday we have weekly finance. On Wednesday we have weekly RBI. On Thursday we will cover all the important government news, which were all the government schemes which were in news in the past 1 week. Same goes for weekly ESI, and then on Saturday we have the important reports as well as publications. Got it, guys? Got it? I hope it's fine. You all are ready. Let's get started. So I'll start with the first news, the first notification. I have taken the screenshot, and this notification was out on 20th of September. What does this notification says? I'll read it for you. It says, interest equalization scheme on pre and post shipment rupee export credit. So there is a notification related to which RBI has come up with certain extensions, with certain limits, which I will be discussing in detail. But before I jump and before I discuss the details with you, most important thing which I would like to discuss with you all is, what is interest equalization scheme? So before you understand this particular notification, before you understand the statement given by RBI, you must be aware of this particular news that says interest equalization scheme. Now, if someone asks me, what do you mean by the word interest equalization scheme, then what will be my answer? First of all, as the name suggests, sir, it is a scheme which was introduced back in 2015. This scheme was introduced back in 2015. And remember, this scheme was introduced for 5 years. That means it was introduced till 2020. But in 2020, not only India, but globally, there was an issue. The issue is very clear to you all. That is, we call it as what? So we call it COVID-19. So because of COVID-19, this scheme was further extended, and till date, this scheme is in implementation. Last is 30th June and the last date is now 30th September 2024. But it was introduced back in 2015. Now you must be wondering, sir, the news which was, or I would say the scheme which was in news in 2015, sir, is it important? As I have already discussed with you, the schemes, all those schemes which are in news in the latest times, they are important. Whether they were introduced earlier or they have been introduced in the recent times, I don't care. I'm not concerned about their launch date. I'm just concerned that whether they are in news in these days or not. So I ask you, what do you understand by the word interest equalization scheme? See, Before I discuss the word interest equalization scheme, there is a term known as subvention. Have you ever heard this term subvention, guys? Anyone has heard this term subvention? Say yes or no. Whenever we use this word subvention, basically what is subvention? Before I answer the meaning of subvention, I would like to answer the term that is subsidy. What is subsidy? So subsidy means when you purchase something and on your behalf certain amount is paid by the government, we call that as subsidy. In a similar manner, just think in this form. If you are borrowing, I repeat, if you are borrowing loan from a bank and out of the total interest rate, if certain part of the interest rate is paid by government, that will be again termed as what? Subsidy. But we don't use a word subsidy over there. We use a word that is known as subvention. First thing. Second thing is, sir, this interest equalization scheme, it is basically a financial initiative which has been launched by the government in order to support the exporters, so that exporters can borrow the loan, and that too at a low rate of interest, or the loan which exporters they are going to borrow, out of their total loan, out of the total interest rate on their loan, certain percentage of the interest rate will be paid by the government as subvention. That scheme is known as interest equalization scheme. Now, try to understand, the interest equalization scheme was first implemented on which date? So it was implemented on 1st of April 2015, and it was introduced to target the exporters of the country. It was introduced to target the exporters of the country in order to provide benefits, to the exporters, or in order to provide subsidized loan to the exporters. Next point is, so this scheme was implemented for 5 years, but later on this scheme was earlier implemented till 31st of March 2020, but because of COVID-19 this scheme was extended. Now what does this scheme mean? So this scheme offers interest subsidies on pre and post shipment export credit in Indian rupees. Now what do you understand by this word pre and post shipment? If I explain you this term, please pay attention, this is very important. Let's suppose you are an exporter and you are manufacturing a particular product which you are going to export. In the early days, when you are exporting, when you are manufacturing the goods, when you are packaging the good, when you are fulfilling all the required conditions so that it can be exported, or when you are making all the required bookings so that your goods can be sent to the other nations, that is known as pre-shipment. So pre-shipment means once you are making the product ready so that it can be shipped, it can be exported. Post-shipment means once you have shipped your product. Once you have shipped your product means, sir, if I have shipped my product, then why should I require credit? I have shipped the product, I will be receiving the funds and I will be utilizing those funds to produce more. Is it correct? Sir, पहले तो समझ आता है. Initially it is pretty clear कि yes, we have to manufacture a product, we have to purchase the raw material, we have to pay to the labor, we have to pay for the transportation. That is true. Pre-shipment is clear. But why post-shipment, sir? Why post-shipment? The reason is, do you think the moment you will ship your products, you will be receiving the amount? No, sir. It's not the case. You will be shipping the products. It may take, let's say, 40 days to reach the product, and after it reaches, then the payment will be released maybe after 20 to 30 days once the product are reached and their quality is checked. So in total, let's suppose, I'm just taking an example, let's say it takes 90 days. Let's say it takes 90 days in receiving the payment against your export. So you have done the export today, you have paid for the transportation of exports today, you have got your export goods insured today, but against those goods you will be receiving the funds, you will be receiving the payment after 90 days. So this is a situation where an exporter is in financial crunch or is in liquidity crisis. So in order to overcome these liquidity crisis and in order to continue with its manufacturing process, the exporters, they need funds, and that is the reason it is very specifically mentioned that this scheme is valid, or this scheme will provide you with the funds not only for your pre-shipment requirements, but also for your post-shipment requirements as well. Is it clear this point? So next time if someone asks you what is the difference between pre-shipment and post-shipment, that is true. Why the funds are required for pre-shipment process and post-shipment process, that is also true. And third point is it takes time not only to reach to the destination. Goods, they are generally exported through sea or through water. So if we are exporting the goods by water, it will take some time, and once the goods reach to the given country, then the clearance and everything will again buy some time. So this time duration results in delay of the payment of the goods which are exported. So in order to continue the process of manufacturing in the home country, the exporters, they need funds for which the borrowing can be done. Got it? So remember that schemes offer interest subsidies on pre as well as post shipment. Validity was earlier till 31st of March 2020, but later on it was extended due to COVID-19. So extension was there due to COVID-19. Now the next point is, sir, who is responsible to administrate this particular scheme? Remember that, sir, the scheme which we are talking about, this scheme is administered by Reserve Bank of India. It is administered by Reserve Bank of India. So the scheme is implemented by whom? So this scheme is implemented by RBI, and the loan is provided by the regulated entities of RBI. So not only the banks or not only the government banks, but even the private sector banks, they also provide loan under this particular scheme. So why private bank is providing loan under this particular scheme? So what is the loss on the bank's end? For example, if I am a private bank, let's say ICICI, I'm providing loan at 9% and I'm still giving the loan at 9% under this scheme. The subsidy which government is supposed to pay, government will pay that subsidy to me, and I will charge only that amount less on the customer. So in that particular case, I am in win-win situation. Because of the scheme, my lendings will increase, and secondly, I'm not going to lose anything from my pocket. Government will be responsible to pay the subsidy, and they will be paying subsidy to all the institutes which are involved in the lending under interest equalization scheme. So remember that. Who will implement this particular scheme? Sir, RBI implement this particular scheme. The next question is, so who is monitoring authority? The scheme is jointly monitored not only by RBI, but with RBI we have one more authority, that is known as Directorate General of Foreign Trade. So if someone asks you implementation, sir, implementation is done by RBI. But if someone asks you monitoring, sir, monitoring is done by RBI along with Directorate General of Foreign Trade. And why this collaboration is done? What is the reason behind this collaboration? So this collaboration basically ensures that all the objectives of the schemes are efficiently completed and all the issues related to the schemes are efficiently addressed. So that is the logic behind moderating or monitoring this particular scheme, not only by RBI, because RBI is implementing. And let's say some loopholes are there, and if RBI is not able to find out those loopholes, then those loopholes can be identified by DGFT so that better implementation of this scheme can be done. The next point is, sir, what are the objectives of this particular scheme? See, the first objective is obviously to promote exports of the nation. That is the first objective. But this is not the only objective. We want to promote exports of the country. We want to increase exports of the country so that our balance of payment witnesses a positive impact, or in comparison to imports, if our exports are increasing, that will help us to reduce our current account deficit. That will help us to reduce our current account deficit. That is true. That is true. It's okay. But the important point is, sir, if we want Indian exporters to lead the market, or if we want India to lead the global market, in that particular case, we should support our exporters in comparison to the global exporters. So in order to support our Indian exporters on the global level, so that they can come up with a competitive price and they can take up the market, for that particular reason, this initiative has been taken. Because if we are providing you subsidy, that means your financing cost has decreased, and if your financing cost has decreased, you can decrease your selling price in order to capture the market all over the globe. Second is export performance. Sir, if we provide these kind of financial assistance, obviously this will increase the export of the nation, it will increase the performance of the export nation, and focus on labor intensive sectors. Sir, in this particular initiative, in this particular scheme, there is no bifurcation, I would say. But if you ask me preference, yes sir, preference is given. If you ask me preference, then I would say yes, preference is given to those export industries which are labor extensive. Which will increase the employment in the country, which will help to improve the employment structure of the economy. So remember, it is focused on labor intensive companies. What are the features of this scheme? First is, certification required. Eligible exporters, they must submit a certificate from an external auditor to the concerned bank to claim the benefit. So if you are an exporter and you want to claim the benefit of this particular scheme, then you need to submit a certification from the external auditor that yes, this is the company which is involved in export operations, and this is the company which is eligible under the scheme, and then only you will be receiving the subvention. Next, we have reimbursement process. So banks provide interest equalization scheme benefit to eligible exporters, and then claim reimbursement from RBI based on the external auditor's certification furnished by the exporter. So what is the process? Let's suppose, I'll take an example for this. Let's suppose an exporter reaches to the bank and say, bank, that's I need loan under interest equalization scheme. Bank will say, yes, we can give you loan, there's no issue, but we need a certificate. So this exporter will reach to an external auditor, and this external auditor will provide a certificate, and that certificate will be deposited with the bank. The moment bank receives the certificate, bank will provide loan, and that too at subsidized rates. Let's suppose bank's supposed to lend on 9%, and government says on this scheme we will provide you with a subsidy of 2%, so bank will charge 7% on the customer. After that, bank will reach to RBI, and rest of the 2% reimbursement will be done by RBI. Once RBI receive all the required documents, then RBI will provide rest 2% to the bank, so that in total bank receives the loan percentage which it was targeting. But on the other side, the exporters, they receive a loan at subsidized rate, and RBI, who is the implementing authority of this scheme, will be funding the banks or the financial institutes involved. Now here comes the benefit wala part. So what is the benefit? If I talk about the benefit, so benefit is 2%. 2% benefit is provided on pre and post shipment rupee export credit to merchant and manufacturer exporters of 410 identified tariff lines at 4-digit level. 3% benefit will be provided to all the MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises, which are manufacturer exporters. So in case of MSMEs, the benefit is 3%, but in case of non-MSMEs, the benefit is 2% as per the given scheme. Now, in the recent times, there have been certain modifications done. First modification is fund limited scheme. The scheme has now been made fund limited, meaning the benefit are capped based on the availability of the fund. So if the funds are available, then only loan will be given. Otherwise, whether you are eligible or not, if funds are not available, no lending will be done. Second is benefit cap. So benefit to the individual exporter is capped at rupees 10 crore per annum per import export code. So for one import export code per annum, you will be receiving a benefit of what? So benefit of up to 10 crores. Lending rate restrictions. So banks are lending to the exporter at an average rate of repo rate plus 4%. Repo rate plus 4%. Repo rate plus 4% to those exporters which are not included. To those exporters which are not included in the scheme, and with those which are included under the scheme, they will be getting the subvention as mentioned 2% and 3%. So what is the impact? The impact is this scheme has played a very important role in supporting the Indian exporters by reducing their interest cost, making them more competitive in the global market. So by reducing their interest cost and making them more competitive in the global market, that is the benefit of this particular scheme, and it has overall increased the export levels or the export volume of the country. Clear? I hope this point is clear. Now let's jump to the news कि आखिरकार सर जिसके लिए इतनी स्टोरी सुनाई वो न्यूज क्या थी. तो ये एक नोटिफिकेशन है जो कि RBI द्वारा रिलीज किया गया है, and in this notification what three things are important. What those three things are, I'll show it to you. First is Reserve Bank of India has announced the extension of interest equalization scheme for pre and post shipment rupee export credit until 30th of September 2024. Earlier it was till 30th of June, but now the announcement has been made that the scheme has been extended till 30th of September 2024. Second point is, so this extension will only target MSME manufacturer exporters, where the cap is same. The cap is the annual net subvention amount at 10 crore per importer exporter code with a maximum of 5 crore for MSME manufacturer. This is very important point which you need to understand, which says that in case of MSME, please pay attention, question will be asked from this point. The note say कि सर ये तो समझ ही नहीं आया. Please understand this point carefully. This extension specifically targets micro, small and medium enterprises, manufacturer exporters, capping the annual. What is the annual net subvention? So the annual net subvention at 10 crore per importer exporter code with a maximum of 5 crore for MSME manufacturers. Remember that for the non-MSME manufacturer and merchant exporters, the cap is at 2.5 crore per import export code until 30th June 2024. So that means this scheme has not extended for the non-MSME manufacturers and merchant exporters, where the cap is 2.5 crore per import export code, importer exporter code, but this has been extended till 30th June for MSMEs with the net subvention of up to 10 crore per importer exporter code with maximum 5 crore for MSME manufacturer. So the RBI circular has given the clarification on the same. And what does the RBI circular say? Please pay attention and read this point, as it says very clearly. The aforesaid extension is applicable only. This extension is applicable only to the MSME manufacturer exporters. The annual net subvention amount is capped at 10 crore per importer exporter code for a given financial year. Accordingly, a cap of 5 crore per importer exporter code for MSME manufacturer exporter is imposed till 30th September for the financial year starting from 1st April 2024. So we know that what is the annual limit? So the annual limit is 10 crores, but this scheme is valid till 30th September only. So if this scheme is valid till 30th September only, then you will be enjoying half the limit. So what limit you are going to enjoy? That is 5 crores. Further, it has advised that the manufacturer exporters and merchant exporters under non-MSME category, the cap shall be 2.5 crore per IEC till 30th of June 2024. So it is 2.5 crore cap for non-MSME till 30th June. For MSME, cap is 5 crore, but overall annual cap is 10 crore. Why it is 5 crore this year? Because it is valid till 30th September 2024 only. Is it clear? Is it clear? So this is how the news of almost 10 sentences have been discussed in half an hour, where each and every term, what is interest equalization scheme, all the nitty-gritties are clear. What is pre and post shipment, that is clear. What is export credit, that is clear. What is subvention, all the terms are clear, and I'm pretty sure you must have enjoyed the discussion on the same. So if you want to cover all the news in such a manner, and if you want to cover RBI bulletin, RBI speeches, RBI notification in much detail, which will be available in our RBI Grade B 2025 Lakshya batch, use code MADHAV in order to enjoy maximum discount while enrolling in RBI Grade B 2025 batch. This batch will provide all the requirements which a candidate witness in order to clear the examination, and I assure you, if you are enrolling in this batch, you increase your chances to be an RBI Grade B officer in the upcoming year to go. Thank you so much, guys. We'll catch you in the next session. Today at 8 p.m. we will be discussing more important topics in the series Basics of Finance, and hope to see your presence, live presence in that particular session as well. Good luck. God bless you all.